Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled to have you here today because, well, we're going to completely change the way you think about what happens when you go to bed. You know, most of us probably think of sleep as this biological standby mode, right? Just a quiet time where the body powers down and does absolutely nothing. But the truth? It is entirely different. While you're lying there perfectly still, your brain is actually burning through almost as much energy as it does when you're wide awake and trying to solve a complex math problem. Sleep isn't passive at all. It's a high-stakes, incredibly active biological control system. And today, we are going to unpack exactly how the whole shebang works.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to really think of the human brain as this impossibly powerful supercomputer. Most of the time it runs perfectly, right? But what happens when the boundary lines between dreaming, waking, and breathing start to blur? Essentially, what happens when our biological software glitches? We literally spend a third of our lives completely unconscious, and the systems keeping us safe are far, far more delicate than you might think. I mean, we rely on a highly fragile neurochemical balance just to keep us simultaneously paralyzed, unconscious, and continuously breathing. When that delicate balance tips, the results are pretty profound.
So, here is our system diagnostic for today. Number 1, the nightly system reboot. Number 2, dreams, the VR simulator. Number 3, paralysis, the security glitch. Number 4, apnea, hardware failure. And 5, the final diagnostic.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the nightly system reboot, and the complex control system behind it.
Beneath the calm, peaceful surface of someone sleeping, the nervous system is performing this extraordinary balancing act. It is making thousands of micro-adjustments every single second. Think about this. Every single night, your brain shuts down the conscious world and opens up a parallel universe. It sounds like total science fiction, doesn't it? But it's absolute biological fact. As you drift off, your brain literally alters its architecture. It shifts from the rapid waking beta waves of your daily life into these slow rolling delta waves of deep sleep. It is a complete system overhaul. And when this delicate nightly control system goes awry, well, the things that happen in the dark can get wild, weird, and frankly, quite terrifying.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that when we look at these core sleep phenomena side by side, a fascinating pattern emerges between what we subjectively experience and the actual mechanics running under the hood. For dreams, it's all about super high brain activity while the body's locked down. For sleep paralysis, it's a terrifying desynchronization in your brain's waking mechanism. And then for sleep apnea, it's not a software bug at all, but a physical obstruction. We're going to explore exactly how the subjective experience of each of these maps perfectly to their underlying biological mechanisms.
Moving on to Section 2, Dreams, which is essentially our built-in VR simulator. So during rapid eye movement or REM sleep, your brain basically boots up this high-end blockbuster simulation software. And the craziest part, you are simultaneously the director and the sole audience member of this spectacular nightly show. Just look at this incredible contrast. During this state, your amygdala, which is the emotion center of your brain, lights up like a Christmas tree. Your brain is highly active, but your prefrontal cortex, the center for logic, reason, and impulse control, that is completely offline. Why does the brain do this? It's intentionally suspending your disbelief so you can fully immerse in emotional processing. Because your logic center is unplugged, you can find yourself, say, soaring through a neon-lit city on the back of a dragon, and it feels 100% normal and logical to you in that exact moment. Your brain totally accepts the absurd because your inner critic is fast asleep.
But hey, this isn't just for entertainment. This VR simulator is an evolutionary sandbox. It's a crucial workspace where your brain tests out complex survival scenarios and consolidates all the data and memories you gathered during the day. And most importantly, it processes raw emotional trauma. In fact, there's a prominent neurological theory that REM sleep acts as overnight therapy. It strips the sharp, visceral emotion away from difficult memories, allowing you to emotionally digest your life. It gets to work through all this intense, heavy data without any real-world consequences or physical danger.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. Paralysis, the security glitch.
Because sometimes the safety features of that VR simulator actually malfunction. What happens when the security protocol that keeps you safely in bed accidentally locks you inside your own mind? Here is the exact, terrifying microsequence of sleep paralysis. First, your mind boots up from the dream state, becoming fully conscious. Second, the chemical lock that paralyzes your body during sleep stays engaged, so you are completely awake, but your motor neurons are still completely disconnected from your thalamus. Third, because you can't move, your primitive fear centers immediately trigger. Your amygdala goes into absolute overdrive because your body's inability to move is instantly interpreted as a life-or-death entrapment scenario. This sends your brain into a state of sheer panic.
To really understand why this happens, we have to look at the chemical lock itself. Think about the sheer evolutionary necessity of this lock. If it didn't exist, every time you dreamt of running away from a predator, you would literally sprint directly into your bedroom walls. To keep you safe, your brain floods your system with the neurotransmitters glycine and GABA. These chemicals temporarily paralyze your voluntary muscles. Sleep paralysis is simply what happens when your mind wakes up a split second before those chemicals are cleared from your nervous system.
The experience is universally horrifying, and surprisingly, it is super common. Nearly 1 in 5 people will experience this glitch at least once in their lives. People describe being trapped inside your own motionless body while an unseen presence watches you from the corner of the room. Because that creative dream engine from REM sleep is still leaking into your waking consciousness, your brain desperately tries to make sense of the physiological panic. It projects terrifying visual and auditory hallucinations directly into your bedroom. And that is exactly where centuries of legends about the old hag or alien shadow figures come from. It's literally just your dream software glitching into reality.
Let's pivot now to Section 4. Apnea, pure hardware failure. So the crucial point is that we are now shifting from software bugs to a sudden power surge that physically chokes the hardware of the human machine. If dreams and paralysis are neurological quirks, sleep apnea is an urgent, dangerous issue. Obstructive sleep apnea is a physical breathing obstruction. It causes repeated oxygen deprivation because the upper airway partially or completely collapses. Unlike the mysterious brain chemistry of dreams, this is an anatomical failure, pure and simple. Specifically, the soft tissues in the back of your throat, like the soft palate or the base of your tongue, they relax just a bit too much. The muscles simply give out, blocking the airflow entirely. And the physical toll this takes on the human body is severe. Because the airway closes, your blood oxygen absolutely plummets. Your brain, detecting this huge crisis, has to make a split-second choice between protecting your sleep and protecting your life. It violently chooses life. It triggers silent internal panic alarms, causing an emergency adrenaline surge. This surge yanks you out of deep sleep, just enough to force the airway open and make you gasp for air. And honestly, the scariest part, you usually fall right back to sleep without ever even remembering that it happened.
And this can happen hundreds of times a night. A standard 8-hour sleep session, which is supposed to be restful and restorative, transforms into this draining, exhausting marathon of microsuffocation. The long-term biological consequences are immense. These constant adrenaline dumps lead to severe hypertension, systemic inflammation, and massive stress on the heart. It absolutely destroys cardiovascular health and leaves the person feeling completely depleted the next day, all while they firmly believe they slept a full 8 hours.
All right, bringing us to Section 5, the final diagnostic on the human machine.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how wild this all is. When we look at the totality of these systems, we see the sheer complexity of human life. We've investigated the virtual reality of dreams, the chemical lockdown of paralysis, and the physical hardware failure of apnea. We spend a third of our lives completely unconscious, navigating the wildly blurred boundaries of our own biology. Our nightly reality is entirely dictated by this delicate, incredibly beautiful balance of physical hardware and neurological software, just quietly working away in the dark to keep us safe.
So, what does this all mean for us? Well, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder as you get ready for bed. When you close your eyes tonight and drift off into the dark, which part of your biological software will take control? Will you be the director of a magnificent simulation, or are you going to encounter a glitch in the system? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay endlessly curious and sleep well.